Winter had come early that year. Snow fell like tears from a gray sky. Clara pressed her face to the cold window. Her breath made fog on the glass. She was 20 years old, but felt ancient inside. "Clara," her mother's voice cut through the house like a knife. "Come here, now." Clara's hand shook, not from cold, from fear. She knew that tone. It meant trouble. It always meant trouble. She walked down the dark hall. Her thin dress barely kept her warm. The other girls in town wore thick wool and silk. Clara wore hand-me-downs and shame. Her family waited in the sitting room. Mother sat straight as a rod. Father would not look at her. Her two brothers smirked by the fire. "Sit," Mother commanded. Clara sat. She kept her eyes down. Looking up only brought more pain. "We have news," Mother said. Her voice was cold as winter wind. "We found someone to take you." Clara's heart stopped. "Take me?" "A marriage arrangement," Father said finally. "Still not looking. You're getting too old. No decent man here wants you." Her brother James laughed. "Can you blame them? Look at her. Plain as mud," added Thomas, her younger brother. And that voice, like a dying crow. Clara felt tears start. She tried to hold them back. Crying only made things worse. Who is he?" she whispered. Mother's lips curved in a cruel smile. "Prince Rowan of Blackmoor." Clara's blood turned to ice. Everyone knew the stories. The Cold Prince, they called him. A man with silver eyes and no heart. A prince who had refused every beautiful princess in the land. "Why would he want me?" Clara asked. "He doesn't," Mother said simply. "His father, the king, owes our family a debt. This is payment." "You mean he's being forced to?" "Both of you are cursed with this match," Mother continued. "But at least we'll be free of your embarrassment." The room went quiet except for the fire's crackle. Clara felt like she was drowning in air. "When?" she managed to ask. "Tomorrow," Father said. "A carriage comes at dawn." Clara stood up too fast. The room spun. "Tomorrow? But I need time to..." "Time for what?" Mother's voice was sharp. "To pack your 3 ugly dresses? To say goodbye to friends you don't have?" The brothers laughed again. The sound made Clara's skin crawl. She ran from the room, up the stairs to her small, cold bedroom. She threw herself on the thin bed and cried until no more tears would come. Through her window, she could see the lights of the town. Other families were having dinner, talking, laughing, being kind to each other. Clara had never known kindness, not from the people who should love her most. She touched her plain brown hair, her ordinary brown eyes, her too thin face. Maybe they were right. Maybe she was a flaw, a mistake. But deep inside, a tiny voice whispered something different. Maybe, just maybe, someone could see her worth. Tomorrow would change everything. She just didn't know if it would be better or worse. The snow kept falling, like the world was crying with her. Prince Rowan stood at his window watching the same snow fall on his castle. But his thoughts were not on the weather. They were on the girl who would arrive tomorrow. Clara, the one his father called payment for an old debt. Rowan was 25, tall, strong, with silver eyes that seemed to see right through people. The court ladies whispered about his beauty, but they also whispered about his coldness. If only they knew the truth. He wasn't cold by choice. He was careful. There was a difference. As a boy, he had been different. Gentle where his brothers were rough. Kind where they were cruel. He read books while they practiced sword fighting. He listened to music while they planned battles. "You're weak," his father, the king, had said many times. A prince must be strong, hard, like steel. So Rowan learned to hide his soft heart. He built walls around his feelings. He spoke little. He smiled less. People began to call him the Cold Prince. He let them. It was easier than showing his true self and being hurt. But inside, he dreamed of finding someone who would understand, someone else who felt alone in a crowd. His brothers had married beautiful princesses. Grand weddings, political alliances. No love, just duty. Rowan had refused every match his father suggested. Until now. "This girl, Clara," the king had said. "Her family saved my life in battle years ago. I owe them a debt. You will marry her." "What is she like?" Rowan had asked. The king shrugged. "Plain, quiet, perfect for you. You won't have to pretend to love her." But something in Rowan stirred. A plain, quiet girl, just like he was a quiet prince. Maybe she would understand what it felt like to be different, to be judged, to be alone. He had asked for her portrait. There wasn't one. Noble families always had portraits of their daughters. Unless they were ashamed of how she looked. This made Rowan's heart ache. He knew what it felt like to disappoint family. can never be quite what they wanted. He decided something that night. He would be kind to this Clara. Even if they never loved each other, he would give her what he had always wanted. Respect, safety, a place to belong. The snow was getting heavier. Tomorrow she would arrive scared and alone. He would make sure she knew. Whatever else happened, she was safe now. Rowan had never been excited about a marriage before. But tonight, he felt something like hope. Maybe they could save each other. The carriage ride took all day. Clara sat alone on hard seats, watching the world change outside her window. Fields turned to forests. Small houses became grand estates. Everything grew bigger, more beautiful, more frightening. Her stomach twisted with nerves. What would he look like? Would he be cruel right away, or would he wait until after the wedding? She touched her face. Still plain, still wrong. The prince would take one look and hate her, just like everyone else did. The castle appeared at sunset. Massive stone walls, tall towers that scraped the sky, windows that glowed like golden eyes. Clara had never seen anything so grand, or so scary. The carriage stopped. A servant opened her door. Clara's legs shook as she stepped out. Her simple bag felt heavy in her hands. "This way, miss," the servant said. His voice was kind. Clara looked up, surprised. He was an older man, with gentle eyes. He smiled at her. Actually smiled. "Prince Rowan is waiting in the great hall," he continued. "Don't worry, he doesn't bite." Clara almost smiled back. Almost. They walked through corridors lined with paintings and tapestries. Everything was rich and beautiful. Clara felt smaller with each step. The great hall doors opened. Clara's breath caught. The room was enormous. A fire blazed in a fireplace bigger than her bedroom. Candles filled the space with warm light. And there, by the fire, stood a man. He was tall, very tall. Dark hair fell across his forehead. And his eyes, silver, like moonlight on water. Clara stopped walking. Her heart pounded so loud she was sure he could hear it. He looked at her. Really looked. Not a glance. Not a dismissive scan. He studied her face like it mattered. Clara waited for the judgment. The disappointment. The cruel words. Instead, he walked toward her. Slowly, calmly. He stopped 3 feet away, close enough to see her clearly, far enough to not frighten her. Then he did something Clara never expected. He bowed to her. A prince, bowing to plain Clara. "You must be Clara," he said. His voice was deep but soft. "I am Rowan. Welcome to your new home." Your new home. Not his home. Not the castle. Her home. Clara blinked. Was this a trick? A cruel joke? You're not angry?" she whispered. "Angry?" He looked genuinely confused. "Why would I be angry? Because you're stuck with me. Because I'm not what you wanted." Something changed in his silver eyes. They grew warmer. Sadder. "Clara," he said gently, "I think we've both been told lies about what we're worth." He gestured to a chair by the fire. "Are you hungry? Cold?" The journey was long. Clara nodded. She was both. He led her to the chair. It was soft, warm from the fire. He brought her soup and bread, real bread, white and soft and still warm. Clara ate slowly, waiting for the catch. The moment he would turn cruel, it didn't come. Instead, he sat across from her. He didn't stare, didn't make her uncomfortable. He just was there. "Are you tired?" he asked, when she finished eating. "A little," Clara admitted. "Mrs. Baker will show you to your room. It's ready for you. Tomorrow we can talk more about everything." Clara stood. Her legs felt steadier now. "Prince Rowan," she said softly. "Just Rowan," he corrected. "We're to be married. No need for titles." "Rowan, thank you for being kind." His silver eyes held hers. "Thank you for coming. I know you didn't have a choice. But I'm glad you're here." Clara felt something strange in her chest. A warmth she'd never felt before. Maybe this wouldn't be the prison she'd feared. Maybe it might even be home. 3 weeks passed like a gentle dream. Clara woke each morning in her own room. A real room with thick blankets and a window that looked out on gardens, not the cold, dark corner she'd known all her life. Mrs. Baker brought her warm breakfast. The older woman had kind eyes and a soft voice. She never made Clara feel rushed or unwanted. "Good morning, dear," she'd say. "Sleep well?" Clara always nodded. She did sleep well here, for the first time in years. Rowan kept his distance at first. Polite, careful, but always kind. They ate dinner together in a small dining room, not the grand hall, somewhere warmer, more personal. He asked about her day, her thoughts, her dream. No one had ever asked Clara about her dreams before. I always wanted to learn about healing, she admitted one evening. Plants and herbs, how to help people feel better. There's a healing garden here, Rowan said, behind the kitchen, full of medicinal plants. Would you like to see it? Clara's eyes lit up. Could I? It's your garden now too, he said simply. The next morning, he showed her the healing garden. Rows of lavender and mint, chamomile and sage, plants Clara had only read about in old books. Can I work here? She asked. Of course, Mrs. Baker has been tending it, but she'd love help. Her knees aren't what they used to be. So Clara began spending her mornings in the garden. Weeding, watering, learning the names of plants and their uses. Mrs. Baker taught her which herbs helped headaches, which ones eased sore throats, how to dry them properly for winter. You have gentle hands, Mrs. Baker said one day. Plants grow better for gentle people. Clara felt a glow of pride. She was good at this, actually good at something. In the afternoons, she explored the castle. The library amazed her most. Shelves and shelves of books, more books than she'd known existed. Rowan found her there one day reading about herbal remedies. Learning? He asked, sitting beside her. Trying to, Clara said. I want to be useful. Not just here. You're already useful, Rowan said quietly. The servants adore you. You helped Tom with his infected cut. You made Sarah feel better when she had that terrible cough. Clara looked up, surprised. You noticed? I notice everything about you, he said. Then his cheeks reddened slightly, like he'd said more than he meant to. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Clara reading. Rowan is working on castle accounts. It felt nice, natural, like they belonged together in the quiet space. Days turned into a routine. Garden work in the morning, reading in the afternoon, quiet dinners together in the evening. Clara began to relax. Her shoulders stopped hunching. Her voice grew stronger. She even laughed sometimes at Rowan's gentle jokes. One evening as they walked through the castle gardens, Clara realized something amazing. She felt happy. Actually happy. For the first time in her life, she wasn't afraid. Wasn't waiting for cruelty. Wasn't trying to make herself invisible. She was just Clara, and that seemed to be enough for Rowan. Maybe even more than enough. She glanced at him as they walked. His silver eyes were thoughtful, kind. When he looked at her, she didn't see disappointment. She saw something that made her heart flutter. Respect. Maybe even affection. The thought both thrilled and terrified her. What if she was wrong? What if this was all pretend? But watching him bend to examine a flower she'd planted, seeing him smile when she talked about her healing work, it felt real. It felt like the beginning of something wonderful. Something Clara had never dared to hope for. Love. Summer came to the castle like a warm embrace. Clara's garden flourished under her care. The healing herbs grew thick and green. Villagers began coming to the castle when they felt sick. Word had spread that the prince's wife knew about healing. Please, an old woman said one morning. My grandson has terrible stomach pains. Can you help? Clara felt nervous. What if she made a mistake? What if she made the boy worse? But she remembered her reading. Chamomile tea for stomach troubles. Peppermint to ease nausea. She prepared the herbs carefully. Showed the grandmother how to make the tea. 3 days later, the woman returned with her grandson, a healthy, smiling boy. Thank you, the grandmother said, tears in her eyes. He's completely better. Clara's heart soared. She had helped someone. Actually helped. More people came after that. A man with a bad cough. A young mother whose baby couldn't sleep. An old farmer with aching joints. Clara treated them all with gentle care. She listened to their problems. She prepared remedies with love. And they got better. Word spread further. People called her the healing princess. They brought gifts from their gardens, eggs from their chickens, bread from their ovens. Clara had never felt so useful, so valued. Rowan watched all of this with growing admiration. You've changed everything, he told her one evening. They were walking through the village. People waved and smiled as they passed. What do you mean? Clara asked. Before you came, the people were afraid of the castle. They saw it as cold, unwelcoming. Now they see it as a place of help, of healing. He stopped walking and turned to face her. You did that, Clara. You brought warmth to this place. Clara felt her cheeks grow hot. I wanted to help. I know, Rowan said softly. That's what makes you special. Their eyes met. Clara felt something electric pass between them. Something warm and wonderful and scary all at once. Rowan reached out slowly, gently touched her face. You're beautiful, he whispered. Clara's breath caught. No, I'm not. I'm plain. Everyone says so. Everyone is wrong, Rowan said firmly. Beauty isn't just a pretty face, Clara. It's kindness. It's caring about others. It's the way you smile when you help someone feel better. His thumb traced her cheek. It's the way your eyes light up when you talk about your plants. The way you laugh when Mrs. Baker tells stories. The way you make everyone around you feel valued. Clara felt tears start, but not sad tears. Happy ones. Rowan, I need to tell you something, he said. His voice was serious now. This marriage, it started as duty, for both of us. Clara's heart clenched. Was he about to say it was all pretend? But Clara, he took her hands in his. Somewhere along the way, it became real. For me, Clara's world tilted. Real? I love you, Rowan said simply. I love your gentle heart, your healing hands, your quiet strength. I love how you've made this castle feel like home. Clara stared at him. Love. He loved her. Plain, ordinary Clara. I love you too, she whispered. The words felt like magic on her tongue. Rowan's smile was brighter than sunshine. He pulled her close, held her tight. We'll have a good life together, he murmured against her hair. A real marriage, a loving one. Clara closed her eyes and breathed in his scent, cedar and warmth and home. She had grown strong like her summer flowers, rooted in love, reaching toward the light. The scared, broken girl who had arrived in winter was gone. In her place stood a woman, a healer, a princess, a wife who was truly loved. That evening, Clara and Rowan sat by the fire in his private study. Rain tapped against the windows like gentle fingers. Clara felt different. Braver. Love did that. She was learning. It made you feel strong enough to share your deepest truths. Rowan, she said softly, can I tell you something about my family? He set down his book and gave her his full attention. Of course. Clara took a deep breath. The story wanted to come out, like poison that needed to be drained from a wound. They never wanted me, she began. From the day I was born, I was wrong. Rowan's jaw tightened, but he stayed quiet. Let her speak. My mother wanted a son. When I came instead, she looked at me like I had ruined her life. My father barely spoke to me. My brother, Clara's voice caught. They called me names. Ugly. Stupid. A waste of space. They said I was lucky any man would take me, even as payment for a debt. Tears started falling. Years of hurt pouring out. I believed them, Clara whispered. I thought I was worthless. A mistake. Something to be ashamed of. Rowan moved to sit beside her. He pulled her close, his arms strong and warm around her. They were wrong, he said fiercely. So completely wrong. Clara looked up at him through her tears. How can you be sure? Because I know what real worth looks like now, Rowan said. It looks like you, Clara, caring for sick children, growing healing plants, making lonely people feel valued. He wiped her tears away with gentle thumbs. Your family couldn't see your worth because they don't know what real value is. They only see surfaces, pretty faces, easy things. Clara felt something shift inside her, a knot of pain loosening. Now let me tell you my truth, Rowan said quietly. Clara settled against his chest, ready to listen. My father never wanted a sensitive son, Rowan began. He wanted warriors, fighters, sons who would expand his kingdom through violence. His voice grew heavy with old hurt. But I was different. I cried at sad stories. I preferred books to battles. I wanted to help people, not conquer them. Clara could picture young Rowan, gentle and kind in a harsh world. My father called me weak, disappointing. He said I would never be fit to rule. My brothers agreed. They mocked me for reading, for caring about our people's problems. Rowan's arms tightened around her. So I learned to hide who I really was. I built walls around my heart. I stopped showing emotion, stopped letting people close. But you let me close, Clara said softly. Because you understand, Rowan replied. You know what it's like to be judged for being different, to be told you're not enough. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. The fire crackled. The rain continued its gentle song. Rowan, Clara said eventually. I'm glad we found each other. She felt him smile against her hair. Even though we were both forced into this marriage. Especially because of that, Clara said. If we'd had choices, we might have chosen the wrong people. People who couldn't understand us. People who wanted us to be different than we are. Rowan agreed. Clara tilted her head to look at him. We're perfect for each other, aren't we? Two broken pieces that fit together. Not broken, Rowan corrected gently. Just misunderstood. Until now. He leaned down and kissed her forehead. Soft and sweet and full of promise. I have an idea, he said suddenly. What? Let's write letters. to our younger selves. Tell them that someday, someone will love them exactly as they are. Clara's eyes filled with fresh tears. Happy ones this time. Dear little Clara, she said softly, you are not a mistake. You are not too quiet or too plain. Someday you will heal people with your gentle hands. Someday a prince will call you beautiful. Dear young Rowan, he continued, your sensitivity is not weakness. It's strength. Your gentle heart will help you love someone who needs that gentleness. You will rule with kindness, not cruelty. They held each other close as the fire burned low. Two souls who had found their home in each other's arms, in each other's understanding. The scared children they had been could finally rest. They were safe now, loved now, home now, forever. Autumn painted the castle grounds in gold and red. Clara had been married for 6 months now. 6 months of happiness she'd never imagined possible. But happiness, she was learning, made some people angry. The letter arrived on a crisp October morning. Royal seal. Formal writing. Bad news. Clara found Rowan in his study, frowning at the parchment. What is it? She asked, settling beside him. Your family, Rowan said grimly. They're coming for a visit. Clara's blood turned to ice. What? Why? Apparently word has spread about your success here. Your healing work. How the people love you. Rowan's voice was carefully controlled, but Clara could hear the anger underneath. They say they want to reconnect with their dear daughter. They'll arrive next week. Clara felt sick. She knew her family. This wasn't about love or pride. This was about opportunity. They want something, she said quietly. I think so too, Rowan agreed. The letter mentioned several times how fortunate you've been, how your simple skills have somehow impressed people. Clara stood up, pacing to the window. Her hands shook. I don't want to see them, she admitted. I'm finally happy, finally at peace. They'll ruin it. Rowan came to stand behind her, his hands settled on her shoulders, warm and steady. They can't ruin anything unless we let them, he said firmly. You're not the same scared girl they sent away, Clara. What if I am, though? Clara turned in his arms. What if I see them and become small again? What if I forget who I am here? Look at me, Rowan said gently. Clara met his silver eyes. You are Princess Clara, wife of Prince Rowan, healer to our people. You have worth that has nothing to do with their opinion. He cupped her face in his hands. But if you don't want to see them, just say the word. I'll send them away. Clara felt a surge of love for this man who would protect her without question. But another feeling stirred too. Curiosity, maybe even strength. No, she said slowly. I think I want to face them. Are you sure? Clara thought about it. 6 months ago, she would have hidden, cowered, believed their cruel words. But now she had seen her own worth reflected in other people's eyes. The villagers who brought their sick children to her, Mrs. Baker, who called her dear, Rowan, who called her beautiful. She had proof of her value now, real solid proof. I'm sure, Clara said with growing confidence. Let them come. Let them see what they threw away. Rowan's smile was proud and fierce. That's my brave wife. But as the week passed, Clara's confidence wavered. Old fears crept back like shadows. What if she really was fooling herself? What if her family was right, and everyone here was just being polite? The night before their arrival, Clara couldn't sleep. She paced their bedroom, wringing her hands. Rowan found her by the window, staring out at the gardens she'd nurtured. Having second thoughts? He asked softly. Terrible third and fourth thoughts, Clara admitted. Rowan wrapped his arms around her from behind. Do you remember what Mrs. Baker said yesterday? He asked. Clara shook her head. She said the village children are calling you the angel princess, 'cause you make their hurts go away. Clara felt some of the tightness in her chest ease. And Tom the blacksmith. He said his wife cried happy tears when you saved their baby from that fever. More peace settled over Clara. And me. Rowan's voice was soft against her ear. I wake up every morning grateful that fate brought me the most wonderful woman in the world. Clara leaned back against his solid warmth. Tomorrow, Rowan continued, when they try to make you feel small, remember all of this. Remember who you really are. Clara turned in his arms, looked into his loving silver eyes. Who am I? She asked. You're Clara, Rowan said firmly. Healer, princess. My beloved wife. A woman of worth and strength and beauty. Clara rose up on her toes and kissed him, soft and sure. Thank you, she whispered against his lips, for helping me remember. Tomorrow would bring her family, and old wounds, and probably new cruelty. But it would also bring a chance to show them the truth. She wasn't their unwanted daughter anymore. She was a princess, a healer, a woman who was deeply loved. and that was something they could never take away. They arrived in a fancy carriage with gold trim. Clara watched from her window as they stepped out into the courtyard. Mother, still tall and sharp-edged. Father, still unable to meet anyone's eyes directly. James and Thomas, her brothers, were looking around like they owned the place. Clara's stomach twisted, but she stood straighter. She was not the same girl they'd sent away. Rowan appeared beside her at the window. "Ready?" he asked. Clara took a deep breath. "Ready." They met the family in the great hall. The same hall where Clara had first met Rowan, where kindness had first touched her life. "Clara!" Mother's voice was bright. "Fake, my dear daughter. How wonderful you look." Clara almost laughed. 6 months ago, Mother had called her plain as mud. Now suddenly she looked wonderful. "Mother," Clara said calmly. "Father, James, Thomas." She didn't run to them, didn't bow her head. She stood beside Rowan as an equal. Father's eyes widened slightly. This was not the meek girl he remembered. "Prince Rowan," Mother continued with a curtsy. "How generous of you to invite us." "Actually," Rowan said smoothly, "you invited yourselves, but you're welcome nonetheless." James stepped forward, his eyes scanning the rich hall. "Quite a place you have here, sister." The way he said sister made Clara's skin crawl, like he was remembering they were related now that it might benefit him. "Thank you," Clara said simply. "We've heard amazing things," Thomas added, "about your little hobby, playing with plants." There it was, the dismissal. The way they made everything she did sound small and silly. But Clara felt Rowan's presence beside her. Remembered Mrs. Baker's proud smile, the grateful faces of people she'd helped heal. "It's not a hobby," Clara said clearly. "It's my calling. I'm the castle healer. I tend to anyone who needs help." "How charitable," Mother said. The word sounded like an insult in her mouth. Mrs. Baker appeared in the doorway. "Excuse me, Princess Clara. Young Mary's fever has broken. Her mother wanted to thank you." A woman Clara recognized hurried in behind Mrs. Baker. She carried a sleeping toddler. "Princess Clara," the woman said, tears in her eyes. "My Mary is completely well. The herbs you gave me, they saved her life." She fell to her knees. Thank you so much." Clara hurried to help the woman stand. "Please, don't kneel. I'm just glad Mary is better." The woman left with more thanks and blessings. Clara's family stared. The grateful love in the woman's voice had been impossible to fake. "Well," Mother said after a moment, "that was nice." Nice. Like Clara had done something as simple as picking flowers. But more people began appearing. Word had spread that Princess Clara was in the great hall. An old man whose arthritis Clara had eased. A young mother whose baby Clara had helped through colic. A teenager whose terrible skin condition had cleared with Clara's treatments. One by one, they came to thank her, to bring small gifts, to tell Clara how she'd changed their lives. Clara's family grew quieter and quieter as the parade continued. Finally, the last villager left. The hall fell silent. "Amazing," Father said slowly. "All those people, they really love you." "They respect her," Rowan corrected firmly, "because she's earned it through kindness and skill." James shifted uncomfortably. "We always knew Clara was special." Clara almost choked. Special? They'd called her worthless. Strange. A burden. But she didn't point this out. She had better things to do than relitigate the past. "I'm happy here," Clara said simply. "I have work that matters. People who value me. A husband who loves me." She looked each family member in the eye. "I've found where I belong." Mother's mask of fake sweetness slipped slightly. "Of course, dear. We're so proud." The word came out strained, like it hurt to say. "Good," Clara said calmly, "because I'm proud of myself too." The visit continued for 3 more days. Clara was polite, but distant. She showed them the gardens, introduced them to the castle staff, let them see her life. But she didn't try to win their approval anymore. She didn't need it. On the last day, as they prepared to leave, Mother pulled Clara aside. "You've done well for yourself," she admitted grudgingly. "Yes," Clara agreed. "I have. Perhaps we were too harsh when you were younger." Clara looked at this woman who had made her childhood a misery. She felt nothing. No anger, no hurt, just emptiness where the pain used to live. "Perhaps," Clara said quietly. "But it doesn't matter now." Mother's eyes flashed. She wasn't used to Clara being so unmoved. "We're still your family," Mother said sharply. "No," Clara replied gently but firmly. "Rowan is my family. The people here who love and respect me are my family. You're just people I used to know." Mother's face went red. But what could she say? Clara wasn't wrong. As the carriage pulled away, Clara felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The last chain connecting her to her painful past had finally broken. Rowan found her in the gardens that evening, tending her herbs by moonlight. "How do you feel?" he asked. Clara considered the question. How did she feel? "Free," she said finally. "Completely wonderfully free." Rowan kissed the top of her head. "Good. That's exactly how you should feel." Clara smiled up at him. "I love you. I love you too, my brave, strong, beautiful wife." And Clara finally, truly believed him. Winter returned to the castle, but this year Clara welcomed it. She was no longer the scared girl who had arrived in the snow. She was a woman who had found her strength. The healing garden slept under white blankets, but Clara's work continued. She had dried herbs, stored carefully, remedies prepared in advance. The people still came to her when they were sick or hurt, but something else was growing too. Clara's confidence had blossomed into something new, leadership. It started small. When Mrs. Baker's old friend came to visit, Clara insisted the woman stay as long as needed. When the kitchen boy fell and hurt his arm badly, Clara didn't ask Rowan's permission before calling the doctor from town. She just acted, like someone with authority, like someone whose decisions mattered. Rowan noticed and loved it. "You're becoming quite the queen," he teased one evening as Clara organized supplies for the village family struggling through a harsh winter. "Queen?" Clara looked up, surprised. "A leader," Rowan clarified. "Someone people turn to for help and guidance." Clara felt a flutter of something new. Pride, maybe. "Our purpose, is that allowed?" she asked. "For me to make decisions without asking you first?" Rowan set down his papers and came to sit beside her. "Clara," he said seriously, "you're not my servant, you're my partner, my equal. I want you to make decisions. I want you to lead." "But I don't know how to be a leader," Clara protested. "You're already doing it," Rowan pointed out. "Every time you help someone, every time you solve a problem, every time you make someone feel valued." He gestured to the supplies she was organizing. "This? Taking care of our people during hard times? This is what good rulers do." Clara looked at the blankets and food she'd gathered, the medicine she'd prepared. She had done this, all of it, because she'd seen a need and acted to fill it. "I suppose I am good at taking care of people," she admitted. "The best I've ever seen," Rowan said warmly. That spring brought a test Clara never expected. A sickness came to the neighboring village. Not life-threatening, but stubborn. The local healer was old and overwhelmed. A messenger came to the castle, begging for help. Clara didn't hesitate. She packed her supplies and prepared to leave immediately. "I'll come with you," Rowan said. "No," Clara said firmly. Then, more gently, "I need to do this myself. To prove I can." Rowan searched her face. Saw the determination there. "All right," he said, "but take guards with you, and send word every day." Clara spent 2 weeks in the village. She worked from dawn to dusk, treating the sick, teaching local women how to prepare the remedies, organizing care for families with multiple sick members. Slowly, the illness retreated. People recovered. The crisis passed. But more than that, Clara had led the entire effort. She had made decisions, solved problems, earned respect through her own actions. When she returned to the castle, the villagers followed her, not to ask for more help, but to thank her, to honor her. "Princess Clara saved our village," the village elder announced in the castle courtyard. "We name her our guardian angel." The crowd cheered. Clara felt tears of joy on her cheeks. Later, alone with Rowan, she marveled at what had happened. "I wasn't scared," she said wonderingly. "When they needed help, I just knew what to do." "That's leadership," Rowan said proudly. "Natural, instinctive leadership. My family always said I was too quiet to matter," Clara remembered. "Your family was wrong about everything," Rowan replied firmly. "Quiet doesn't mean weak. It means thoughtful, careful. Those are exactly the qualities a good leader needs." Clara curled up against his side, thinking about the girl she used to be, the one who believed she was worthless. "Do you think," she began slowly, "do you think someday I could really be a queen? Not just in title, but in action?" Rowan's arms tightened around her. "Clara, you already are a queen, in every way that matters." He tilted her chin up to meet his eyes. "You rule through love instead of fear. You lead by serving others. You make people feel valued and cared for." His smile was soft and proud. "That's not just queenly behavior. That's the best kind of ruling there is." Clara felt something settle deep in her soul, a certainty she'd never experienced before. She knew who she was now, not the unwanted daughter her birth family had rejected, not the scared girl who had arrived at this castle in the snow. She was Clara, healer, leader, queen of hearts if not yet of lands. and she was exactly who she was meant to be. The scared little girl was gone forever. In her place stood a woman who could change lives with her gentle strength, a woman who had finally found her voice and discovered it was powerful beyond measure. 5 years had passed since Clara first arrived at the castle in that terrible winter snow. Now she stood in the same great hall, but everything was different. She was different. Sunlight streamed through windows she had helped design. Tapestries she had commissioned hung on the walls. Not scenes of battle, but images of healing, growing and caring for others. The hall was full of people, not for a wedding this time, but for a coronation. The old king had died peacefully in his sleep. Rowan was now king, and Clara was about to become queen. She looked out at the crowd and saw faces she knew. Villagers she had healed, children she had helped raise, people whose lives she had touched with her gentle care. Mrs. Baker sat in the front row, tears of pride streaming down her weathered cheeks. Tom the blacksmith was there with his whole family, including the baby Clara had saved from fever years ago, now a healthy toddler. In the back, almost hidden, stood her birth family. They had come uninvited, hoping perhaps to claim some reflected glory. Clara felt nothing for them. No anger, no hurt. They were just strangers now. Her real family was here. The people who had loved her, valued her, and seen her worth from the beginning. Rowan stood beside her, magnificent in his royal robes. But when Clara looked at him, she still saw the kind man who had given her bread and safety on that first terrifying night. The ceremony began. Ancient words were spoken, holy oils applied, symbols of power and responsibility placed in Clara's hands. But the moment that mattered most came when the crown was lifted toward her head. "Do you, Clara, promise to rule with wisdom and compassion?" the bishop asked. "I do," Clara said clearly. Her voice carried through the hall without shaking. "Do you promise to protect the weak and care for those in need?" "I do." This was easy to promise. She had been doing it for years. "Do you promise to lead with love instead of fear?" "I do." With all her heart, the crown settled on her head. Not heavy, as she had expected, but warm, right, like it belonged there. "Rise, Queen Clara," the bishop announced, protector of the realm, mother to all people. The crowd erupted in cheers, but Clara heard individual voices in the noise. "Queen Clara," shouted the baker's son, whose broken arm she had helped heal. "Our angel queen," cried the woman whose difficult birth Clara had attended, saving both mother and child. "The people's queen," called out dozens of voices together. Clara felt tears on her cheeks, but not sad tears, joy tears. She looked out at all these beloved faces and realized something wonderful. She had never wanted to be queen for power or glory. She had wanted it to help more people, to do more good, and now she could. Rowan took her hand as they walked from the hall. "King and queen, partners in all things. How does it feel?" he asked softly. "Like coming home," Clara replied. "Like this is what I was always meant to do." That evening, they held a feast. But not the formal, stuffy affair royal protocol demanded. Clara had insisted on something different. Tables were set up in the courtyard. Everyone was invited. Nobles sat next to farmers. Castle staff mingled with village families. Children played between the tables, while adults shared food and stories. Clara moved through the crowd, not as a distant queen, but as a friend. She asked about sick relatives, admired new babies, listened to concerns and ideas. This was her kingdom. These were her people. And she was exactly where she belonged. Late that night, after the last guest had gone home, Clara and Rowan sat together in their private garden. The same garden where Clara had first learned to grow things, to nurture life. "Do you remember," Rowan said softly, "that first night when you arrived? You were so scared, so convinced you had no worth." Clara smiled, thinking of that terrified girl. "She feels like a different person now." "She was you, though," Rowan pointed out. "Just you before you learned to see your own value." Clara considered this. Maybe that scared girl needed to exist, so this confident woman could appreciate what she has. "Maybe," Rowan agreed. He pulled her closer. "I'm proud of you, of who you've become, of who you've always been, underneath the fear." Clara looked up at the stars, thinking about the journey that had brought her here. From unwanted daughter to beloved queen. From someone who believed she was worthless, to someone who knew her own immense value. The path had been difficult, painful at times, but every step had been necessary. "Rowan," she said softly, "thank you for seeing me when I couldn't see myself." "Thank you," he replied, "for becoming the woman you were always meant to be." Clara touched her new crown, still amazed it was real. Queen Clara, who ruled with love, who led by serving, who proved that gentle strength was the most powerful force of all. She had found her voice, her purpose, her home, and she was just getting started. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new people to help, new ways to make the kingdom better. Clara could hardly wait. The scared girl in the winter snow was gone forever. In her place stood a queen who would change the world, one gentle act of love at a time. And that, Clara thought with deep satisfaction, was exactly the kind of queen the world needed, the kind of queen she had always been destined to become.
Eleanor sat by her window. Rain fell on the glass. Her left leg ached like it always did. "Look at her," her mother said behind her. "Just look at that broken thing." The words cut deep. They always did. Eleanor turned around slowly. Her limp made her careful with each step. Her father stood by the fire. His face was cold. Her mother's lips were thin with disgust. "No man will want her," father said. He did not look at Eleanor. He spoke like she was not there. "That leg, it marks her as cursed." Mother nodded. The midwife said it was God's will, a punishment. Eleanor's heart broke a little more. She had heard this story her whole life. Born wrong, born cursed, born to bring shame to her family. "I have found a solution," father said. His voice was sharp. "Lord Gabriel needs a wife. He is damaged too. They will suit each other." "The scarred lord," mother gasped. "But the rumors." "He is our only choice." Father cut her off. "No other man will take her. This marriage will hide our shame." Eleanor gripped the windowsill. Her knuckles went white. "What if I say no?" Both parents turned to her. Their eyes were like ice. "You will not say no." Father's voice was like thunder. "You cannot bring pride to this family. You will do as you are told." Mother stepped closer. "A curse fell on you at birth. You owe us this much." Hot tears filled Eleanor's eyes, but she would not let them fall. Not here, not in front of them. "When?" she whispered. "Next week," father said. "Pack your things. Lord Gabriel expects you Tuesday." Eleanor limped to her room. Each step hurt her leg. Each step hurt her heart more. She sat on her bed. The room felt small, like a cage. Her whole life had been a cage. But deep in her chest, something flickered, a small flame that would not die. She did not know what it was yet. She did not know it was hope. Outside her window, storm clouds gathered. Tomorrow would bring change. She just did not know it would be the kind of change that would save her. Lord Gabriel stood in his great hall. Shadows danced on the stone walls. The fire crackled, but it could not warm the cold in his heart. His hand touched the scar on his cheek. 3 years old now, a gift from the war. The townspeople whispered when they saw it. They said he was cruel. They said he was cold. If only they knew the truth. "My lord," his steward said softly, "the girl arrives tomorrow." Gabriel nodded. He had agreed to this marriage, not for love, not even for money, but because a broken girl deserved kindness, and he understood being broken. The war had taken everything from him, his brothers, his friends, his faith in goodness. He came home to an empty house, empty halls, empty heart. But the war had taught him something else too. It taught him that scars do not make a person evil. Pain does not make someone worthless, and beauty, real beauty, came from the inside. "What do you know of her?" Gabriel asked. "Born with a limp," the steward said. "Her family calls her cursed. They want to be rid of her." Gabriel's jaw tightened. He had seen enough cruelty in war. He would not let it happen in his home. "Prepare the blue room," he said, "the one with morning light. Make sure the fire is always warm. Put books by the window, and flowers, fresh flowers every day." The steward looked surprised. "My lord." "She will be my wife," Gabriel said firmly. "She will be treated with honor." That night, Gabriel could not sleep. He walked his empty halls. Tomorrow, these walls would echo with new footsteps. Different footsteps. He thought of his own pain, the nights he woke screaming from dreams of battle, the way mirrors showed him a face he barely knew, the loneliness that ate at him like a disease. Maybe two broken people could help each other heal. Maybe this marriage would not be a punishment. Maybe it could be a gift. He did not dare hope for love, but kindness he could give, respect that he could offer. The girl was coming tomorrow. Eleanor was her name. He would make sure she felt safe here. He would make sure she knew being different did not mean being less. The fire burned low. Dawn was coming, and with it, a new beginning for them both. The carriage rolled up the long drive. Eleanor pressed her face to the window. Lord Gabriel's manor was huge. Stone towers reached toward grey clouds. It looked like something from a dark fairy tale. Her leg throbbed from the long ride. Her heart hammered against her ribs. In minutes, she would meet the man who would be her husband, the scarred lord, the cold lord, the lord no woman wanted to marry. Just like she was the girl no man wanted to marry. The carriage stopped. The door opened. Rain misted her face as she stepped down. Her left leg nearly gave out. She caught herself on the carriage door. "Careful," a deep voice said. She looked up and gasped. Lord Gabriel stood before her, tall, broad shoulders, dark hair touched with grey, and yes, a scar ran from his left temple to his jaw. It was white against his tanned skin. But his eyes were the deepest brown she had ever seen, and they were kind. "Lady Eleanor," he said. He bowed, actually bowed to her. "Welcome to your new home." She stared at him. No one had called her lady before. No one had bowed to her, ever. "I thank you, my lord," she stammered. He stepped closer, but not too close. "You must be cold and tired. Come inside." He offered her his arm. She hesitated. At home, no one touched her unless they had to. Her limp made people uncomfortable. But Gabriel waited patiently. His arm was steady, strong. She took it. They walked up the steps together. Her limp made her slow. She waited for him to show irritation, to pull ahead, to make some comment about her pace. He did none of those things. He matched her speed perfectly, as if walking slowly was the most natural thing in the world. The great hall was warm. Huge tapestries hung on the walls. A fire blazed in a fireplace big enough to stand in. And everywhere, flowers, white roses, yellow daffodils, purple lavender. "It's beautiful," she whispered. "I hoped you would like it," Gabriel said, and he smiled. The scar pulled at his cheek, but the smile reached his eyes. It made him look not frightened at all. It made him look gentle. An older woman approached them. She had grey hair and a kind face. "This is Mrs. Ruth," Gabriel said. "She manages the household. She will help you settle in." Mrs. Ruth curtsied. "Welcome, my lady. Your room is ready. I hope you will be comfortable." "My lady," there it was again. Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes, but these were different tears. These were good tears. Yes, thank you," she managed. Gabriel studied her face. "You look tired. Rest now. We can talk tomorrow." He did not demand her attention. He did not list rules she must follow. He simply let her be. As Mrs. Ruth led her up the wide staircase, Eleanor looked back once. Gabriel still stood by the fire. The light flickered over his scarred face. He looked lonely. Just like she had been lonely her whole life. Maybe they understood each other already. What? Eleanor woke to sunlight streaming through tall windows. For a moment she forgot where she was. Then it came back. The manor, Lord Gabriel, her new life. She sat up carefully. Her leg was always stiff in the mornings, but this bed was so soft, softer than any bed she had ever slept in. A fire crackled in the small fireplace. Someone had come in while she slept. Someone had made sure she was warm. A soft knock came at the door. "Come in," Eleanor called. Mrs. Ruth entered with a tray. The smell of fresh bread filled the room, and tea, real tea, not the weak stuff her mother had given her. "Good morning, my lady," Mrs. Ruth said. "I thought you might be hungry." She set the tray by the window. There was a small table there, and a chair with soft cushions, and books, a whole stack of books. "Lord Gabriel said you might enjoy reading," Mrs. Ruth explained. "He has a large library. You are welcome to any book you wish." Eleanor stared at the books. At home, she was not allowed to read. Her mother said it gave her ideas above her station. "He said I could read them," she asked. "As many as you like," Mrs. Ruth smiled. "He enjoys books himself. Perhaps you can discuss them together." After Mrs. Ruth left, Eleanor ate slowly. The bread was still warm. The butter was sweet. The tea was perfect. She picked up one of the books, poetry. She had never been allowed to read poetry. A movement outside caught her eye. In the garden below, she saw Lord Gabriel. He was not dressed like a lord. He wore simple clothes. He was working, digging in the earth with his own hands. She watched him for a long time. The scar on his face was clear in the morning light, but his movements were gentle. He was planting flowers, taking care of growing things. At home, her father would never lower himself to work in the dirt. Lords gave orders. They did not get their hands dirty. But Gabriel was different. He was real. That afternoon, she limped down to the garden. Gabriel looked up from his work. His hands were covered in soil. "Good afternoon, Lady Eleanor," he said. "Did you rest well?" "Yes, thank you." She hesitated. "The books, thank you for the books." His scarred face brightened. "Do you enjoy reading?" I think so. I was not allowed before." Something dark flickered in his eyes. "Not allowed." She looked down at her hands. "My mother said it was not proper for someone like me." Gabriel stood slowly. He wiped his hands on a cloth. "Someone like you." She could not meet his eyes. Someone cursed. The silence stretched between them. Then Gabriel spoke. His voice was very quiet, very firm. "You are not cursed," he said. "You are here, in my home, as my wife, and here you may read any book you wish. You may do anything that brings you joy." She looked up at him then. His brown eyes were fierce, but the fierceness was not directed at her. It was directed at anyone who had ever made her feel small. "Thank you," she whispered. He smiled again, that gentle smile that made his scar seem like nothing at all. "Would you like to see the roses?" he asked. "They are blooming beautifully this year." She nodded, and together they walked slowly through the garden. Her limp did not matter here. His scar did not matter either. For the first time in her life, Eleanor felt like she belonged somewhere. 3 weeks passed like a gentle dream. Eleanor read by her window each morning. She walked in the garden each afternoon, and slowly, she began to feel at home. Gabriel was always kind, always patient. He never stared at her limp. He never made her feel rushed or clumsy. But she sensed sadness in him too. Sometimes she caught him staring into the fire. His eyes would grow distant, like he was seeing ghosts. One morning, Mrs. Ruth knocked on her door, but this time she looked worried. "My lady," she said, "there is a sick child in the village. Little Mary, the baker's daughter. She has a fever that will not break. Her mother is desperate." Eleanor's heart clenched. "What can I do?" "Lord Gabriel mentioned you have gentle hands. You helped your family when they were ill." It was true. At home, Eleanor had always tended the sick. Her mother had said it was the least she could do to be useful. But Eleanor had discovered she was good at it. She could feel when someone was truly sick. She could sense what would help them heal. "I could try," Eleanor said slowly. Mrs. Ruth's face brightened. "Would you? I could show you where to find healing herbs, in the woods behind the manor." An hour later, Eleanor walked carefully through the forest. Mrs. Ruth pointed out different plants: willow bark for fever, chamomile for sleep, mint for the stomach. Eleanor's hands seemed to know which plants to pick. which leaves were the freshest, which roots held the most power. They prepared a tea in the manor kitchen, then they went to the village. Little Mary lay pale and still in her small bed. Her mother wept beside her. "Please," the woman begged, "please help her." Eleanor sat carefully beside the bed. She touched the child's forehead. It burned with fever, but underneath she felt something else, something that told her the child would live, would heal. She gave Mary small sips of the tea. She bathed her face with cool water. She spoke to her in a soft, calm voice. "You are going to be well," she whispered. "Rest now. Let the medicine work." They stayed for hours. As evening came, the fever broke. Little Mary opened her eyes. She smiled weakly at her mother. The woman fell to her knees. "Thank you," she sobbed. "Thank you, my lady." Walking home in the twilight, Mrs. Ruth was quiet. Then she said, "You have a gift, my lady, a real gift." Eleanor felt something warm spread through her chest. A gift, not a curse, a gift. When they reached the manor, Gabriel was waiting by the door. His face was anxious. "Is the child well?" he asked. "She will recover," Eleanor said. Gabriel's smile was brilliant. "And you? How do you feel?" Eleanor thought about it. How did she feel? For the first time in her life, she felt useful, needed, important. "I feel alive," she said. Gabriel stepped closer. "You saved that child's life today." I knew what to do. I could feel it." "That is the gift," Gabriel said softly. "That knowing, that feeling, it is rare, it is precious." That night, Eleanor sat by her window. She looked out at the village lights below. Somewhere down there, little Mary was sleeping peacefully. Because of her, because of something she had done. Her limp had not mattered today. No one had even noticed it. They had seen only her hands, her knowledge, her care. Maybe she was not broken after all. Maybe she was exactly who she was meant to be. The fine summer nights at the manor were soft and warm. Eleanor had taken to sitting in the garden after dinner. The roses smelled sweetest in the evening air. Tonight, Gabriel joined her on the stone bench. They sat in comfortable silence for a while. Then he spoke. "You saved another child today," he said. "That makes 4 this month." Eleanor felt her cheeks warm. Word had spread about her healing touch. People came from villages miles away, seeking her help, trusting her with their sick children, their elderly parents, their suffering. "I like helping them," she said softly. "And they love you for it," Gabriel replied. "I see how they look at you, like you are an angel." She turned to study his profile. The scar caught the moonlight. "What about you?" she asked. "What did you do before?" Gabriel was quiet for a long moment. She thought he would not answer. Then he sighed. "I was different then," he said. "Younger, more careless. I thought life would always be easy, safe." "What changed?" "I lost my brothers," he said simply, "both of them in the same battle where I got this." He touched his scar. "James died in my arms. William, I never even found his body." Eleanor's heart broke for him. "I am so sorry." "I came home to emptiness," Gabriel continued. "Everyone looked at me like I was a stranger. The scar, it frightened them. They thought it meant I was dangerous, violent." "But you are the gentlest man I have ever known," Eleanor said. Gabriel turned to look at her. His brown eyes were bright with unshed tears. "You see me?" he whispered. "The real me, not the scar, not the rumors, just me." "And you see me," she replied. "Not the limp, not the curse they said I carried, just me." Gabriel reached out slowly. He took her hand in both of his. His hands were warm, calloused from his garden work, strong and gentle at the same time. "I need to tell you something," he said. "This marriage, it was arranged. But what I feel for you now, that is real, that is choice." Eleanor's pulse quickened. "What do you feel?" "I feel," he paused, searching for words. I feel like I have been sleeping for 3 years, and you have woken me up." She looked down at their joined hands. Her heart was beating so fast she was sure he could hear it. "I was afraid to hope," she whispered. "I was afraid you would see what everyone else sees, a broken girl who brings bad luck." Gabriel lifted her chin with his free hand, made her look at him. "Do you know what I see when I look at you?" She shook her head. "I see a woman who heals with her touch, who reads poetry by candlelight, who tends my roses like they are precious jewels, who makes my empty house feel like home." Tears spilled down her cheeks. Good tears, happy tears. "I see the bravest person I have ever known," Gabriel continued, "because you survived a family that tried to break you, and you came out whole, you came out kind." "I do not feel brave," she admitted. "That is what makes you brave," he said. "You do not see your own strength, but I do. Everyone in the village does." He leaned closer. "May I kiss you?" he asked softly. She nodded. She had never been kissed before, had never thought anyone would want to kiss her. Gabriel's lips were gentle on hers, soft, sweet, like a promise, like a beginning. When they parted, she rested her forehead against his. "I love you," she whispered. The words came from somewhere deep inside her, somewhere she had kept hidden even from herself. "And I love you," Gabriel replied, "my brave healer, my beautiful wife." Under the stars, in the garden they both tended, two broken people discovered they could make each other whole. "Tisli, mal rubis de mal not to speak. Orthov tai is the goal." The letter arrived on a Tuesday morning in early autumn. Eleanor was in the still room, preparing medicines for the coming winter. She had learned so much in the months since her first healing. Mrs. Ruth had taught her. The village wise woman had shared secrets, but most of all, she had learned to trust her own instincts. Gabriel found her there, crushing dried herbs. His face was grim. "Your family is coming," he said quietly. He held out the letter. Eleanor's hands stilled. Her family, she had not seen them since her wedding day, had not wanted to. "What do they want?" she asked. "They do not say, only that they will arrive tomorrow." Eleanor felt the old fear creeping back, the familiar tightness in her chest, the voice in her head that whispered, "You are not good enough, you are cursed, you are a burden." Gabriel knelt beside her chair. "Look at me," he said gently. She met his eyes, those warm brown eyes that had shown her nothing but love. "You are not the same girl who left their house," he said. "You are Lady Eleanor now, the healer, the woman half the county comes to for help. Remember that." She nodded, but her hands shook as she tried to continue her work. The next afternoon, her parents' carriage arrived. Eleanor stood in the great hall, Gabriel beside her. She wore her finest dress. Her hair was properly arranged. She looked every inch the lady of the manor. But inside, she felt 12 years old again, small and frightened and wrong. Her parents entered like they owned the place. Father's eyes swept the rich furnishings. Mother's lips were pinched with disapproval. "Eleanor," Mother said. Not even a greeting, just her name, spoken like a disappointment. "Mother, Father." Eleanor's voice was steady. She was proud of that. "You look," Mother paused, studying her, "different." "I am well," Eleanor replied. Father stepped forward. "We have come on business. There are rumors about you, disturbing rumors." "What rumors?" Gabriel's voice was cold as winter stone. Father barely glanced at him. "They say she practices healing, that she dabbles in herbs and potions. It is not proper for a lady of good breeding." Eleanor felt anger flare in her chest. "I help sick people. I save lives." "You draw attention," Mother snapped. "People talk. They say you have unnatural abilities." "There is nothing unnatural about kindness," Gabriel said. His voice could have cut glass. Father turned on him. You were supposed to control her, to keep her quiet, hidden. Instead, you parade her around like she is some sort of saint. She is my wife, Gabriel said. Each word was precise, dangerous. She is the lady of this manor, and she is the most gifted healer I have ever known. Mother laughed, a bitter, ugly sound. Gifted? She is cursed, has been since birth. We told you that when we arranged this marriage. You told me many things, Gabriel replied, but I have learned the truth. Something in his tone made both parents pause. Gabriel stepped forward. I have been making inquiries about Eleanor's birth, about the circumstances of her condition. Eleanor stared at him. He had been investigating her past. The midwife who delivered her, Gabriel continued. She is still alive. Old Meg in Lower Village. She told me a very interesting story. Father's face went white. That old woman is addled. Nothing she says can be trusted. She remembers that night clearly, Gabriel said. She remembers how you raged when your child was born a girl instead of a boy, how you struck your wife, how you demanded she find a way to make the child marked, so you could claim she was cursed, so you could have an excuse to treat her badly. The silence in the room was deafening. The midwife broke the child's leg. Gabriel's voice was like steel now. On your orders, you created the very curse you have punished Eleanor for her entire life. Eleanor felt the world tilt around her. What? Gabriel turned to her, his eyes gentle despite the fury in his voice. You were born perfect, love. They broke you on purpose, to have an excuse to treat you as less than human. The truth hit her like a physical blow. All those years, all that pain, all that shame, based on a lie, based on a cruelty so deep she could barely comprehend it. You monster, she whispered, looking at her father. You destroyed my childhood for nothing. Father drew himself up. We did what was necessary. You were a useless girl child. At least this way, you served a purpose. Something snapped inside Eleanor. All the years of bending, all the years of believing she was wrong, all the years of accepting their cruelty. No more. She stepped forward. Her limp no longer felt like a weakness. It felt like a badge of survival. Get out of my house, she said. Her voice rang through the great hall. Eleanor, Mother began. Get out. The words came from the depths of her soul. You are not welcome here. You will never be welcome here again. Father's face twisted with rage. You cannot speak to us this way. We are your parents. You owe us. I owe you nothing, Eleanor said. Each word was crystal clear. You broke a baby's leg to create a lie. You tortured a child for your own amusement. You are not parents. You are monsters. Gabriel stepped beside her. You heard my wife. Leave now before I have you thrown out. For a moment, Father looked like he might argue. Then he saw Gabriel's face, saw the promise of violence there. This is not over, he snarled. Yes, Eleanor said quietly, it is. Her parents left like the cowards they were, slinking away without another word. When the door closed behind them, Eleanor collapsed into Gabriel's arms. She was shaking, but not with fear, with relief, with freedom. I am so sorry, Gabriel whispered into her hair. I am so sorry they did that to you. You knew? She asked. I suspected. The story never made sense. Curses are not real, but cruelty is very real. She pulled back to look at him. Why did you not tell me sooner? Because you needed to find your own strength first. You needed to know your own worth, so when the truth came, it could not break you. She understood. If she had learned this truth months ago, she might have crumbled, might have been consumed by rage and pain. But now she was strong enough to bear it, strong enough to survive it, strong enough to move beyond it. I am not cursed, she said wonderingly. You never were, Gabriel replied. You were blessed, with healing hands, with a kind heart, with the strength to survive hell and come out whole. That night, they burned the letter her parents had sent. watched the flames consume the last connection to her poisoned past. She was free now, truly free, free to be who she had always been meant to be. A healer, a lady, a woman beloved. The curse was broken, not because it never existed, but because she had finally stopped believing in it. Lubuthen, Watime. Winter melted into spring, then spring bloomed into summer, and with each passing season, Eleanor grew stronger, braver, more certain of who she was. The village had changed too. Where once people whispered and stared, now they smiled and waved. Children ran to her when she walked through the market. Mothers brought their babies for her to bless. She had become more than a healer. She had become hope itself. On this particular morning, she stood before the village council, something that would have terrified her a year ago. Now she felt calm, confident. She belonged here. Lady Eleanor, the head councilman said, "We have a request." She nodded for him to continue. "The harvest festival is coming. We would like you to be our honored guest, to sit at the head table, to give the blessing over the feast." A year ago she would have stammered, made excuses, tried to hide. Today she smiled. "I would be honored." Murmurs of approval swept through the small crowd. These people loved her, actually loved her, not despite her limp, but because of everything she was. After the meeting, she walked home slowly, enjoying the sunshine on her face, the birds singing in the trees, the simple joy of being alive. Gabriel was waiting in their garden. He was always waiting for her now, like he could not bear to be apart from her for long. "How did it go?" he asked, pulling her into his arms. "They want me to bless the harvest," she said. "Me, the girl who was once called cursed." Gabriel spun her around, careful of her leg. "Of course they do. You are the heart of this place now." It was true. Somehow, without trying, she had become the person people turned to, not just for healing, but for advice, for comfort, for hope. "Sometimes, I cannot believe this is my life," she said. "Believe it," Gabriel replied. "You earned every moment of this happiness." That evening, they received another visitor, but this one was welcome. Mrs. Ruth announced her with a smile. "Lady Catherine is here to see you, my lady." Lady Catherine was the Duchess of the neighbouring county. Eleanor had met her briefly at a social gathering. She was elegant, educated, and surprisingly kind. "Lady Eleanor," Catherine said as she entered the drawing room, "I hope you do not mind my calling unannounced." "Not at all, Your Grace," Eleanor replied. "Please, sit. May I offer you tea?" As they settled with their cups, Catherine studied Eleanor carefully. "I have been hearing stories about you," she said finally. Eleanor tensed slightly. Stories could be good or bad. Catherine must have seen her expression because she smiled. "Good stories, wonderful stories, about a young woman who can heal with her touch, who has transformed an entire village with her kindness." "I simply do what I can," Eleanor said modestly. "No," Catherine said firmly, "you do much more than that. You give people hope. In a world that can be cruel, you show them that goodness still exists." She leaned forward. "I have a proposal for you." "A proposal?" "I am starting a school for young women of all social classes to teach them healing arts, management skills, things that will help them be independent, strong." Catherine paused. "I want you to help me lead it." Eleanor stared at her. "Me?" "You," Catherine confirmed. "You have lived both sides of life. You know what it means to be powerless, and you know what it means to find your strength. These girls, they need to see that. They need to see you." Gabriel reached for Eleanor's hand. "It is your choice, love. But I think you could change many lives." Eleanor thought of all the girls like her former self, told they were worthless, told they were cursed, told they were less than human. What if someone could show them different? What if someone could teach them their worth? "Yes," she said quietly. "Yes, I will help you." Catherine's smile was radiant. Wonderful. We start in the fall. And Eleanor, this is just the beginning. I have a feeling you are going to change the world. That night, lying in Gabriel's arms, Eleanor marveled at the path her life had taken, from the broken girl in her parents' house to this, a respected lady, a gifted healer, a teacher, a leader. "Are you happy?" Gabriel asked softly. She thought about it, truly thought about it. "I am more than happy," she said finally. "I am complete." And she was. The scared, limping girl was still part of her, would always be part of her. But now she was also the confident woman, the healer, the teacher, the beloved wife. She was all of herself, the broken parts and the strong parts, the past pain and the present joy. She was exactly who she was meant to be. You. The harvest festival dawned bright and golden. The entire village had worked for weeks to prepare. Colorful banners hung from every window. Tables groaned under platters of food. Musicians tuned their instruments in the square. And at the center of it all, Eleanor. She stood before her mirror, adjusting her dress. It was deep blue silk, embroidered with silver threads. Gabriel had commissioned it specially for today. She looked beautiful. For the first time in her life, she could look in a mirror and think that word about herself. "Ready?" Gabriel asked from the doorway. He wore his finest clothes too. Lord and Lady of the Manor, dressed for celebration. "I think so," she said, but her voice shook slightly. Gabriel approached her slowly. "What is it, love?" "A year ago, I could barely speak to Mrs. Ruth," she said. "Today I am supposed to address the entire village, give a blessing, be important." Gabriel took her hands. "You have always been important. Today everyone simply gets to see it." They walked together through the village streets. People called out greetings. Children threw flower petals at their feet. Eleanor's limp barely slowed her now. She had learned to walk with confidence despite it, to hold her head high. The feast tables were arranged in the village square. At the head table 2 chairs waited, the places of honor. As they approached, the entire village rose to their feet, hundreds of people, all looking at her with respect, with love, with gratitude. "Lady Eleanor," someone called out, "the blessing." She climbed onto the small platform that had been built for the occasion, looked out over the sea of faces, young and old, rich and poor, all of them her people now. "Friends," she began, her voice carried clearly in the evening air. "A year ago, I came to this village as a stranger, frightened, broken, believing I was cursed. Murmurs of sympathy rippled through the crowd. But you showed me something," she continued. "You showed me that curses have no power over love, that being different does not mean being less, that broken things can become beautiful when they are held with care." A few people wiped away tears. "This harvest celebrates more than grain and fruit," Eleanor said, her voice growing stronger. "It celebrates growth, change, the miracle of small seeds becoming great trees, of tiny acts of kindness becoming movements of hope." She paused, looking directly at Gabriel, at Mrs. Ruth, at little Mary, now healthy and bright-eyed. "I bless this feast," she said. "I bless this village. I bless every person here who showed a limping girl that she could learn to fly." The cheers were deafening. People laughed and cried and applauded all at once. As she stepped down from the platform, Gabriel was waiting. His eyes shone with pride. "That," he said, "is the woman I fell in love with, the woman I will love until my dying day." The feast that followed was magical. Eleanor moved from table to table, speaking with everyone. She held babies and blessed crops, and listened to stories and gave advice. She was not just the lady of the manor anymore. She was the heart of the community, the person people turned to when they needed hope. As the evening grew late, the dancing began. Gabriel led her onto the makeshift dance floor. They moved slowly, carefully, her limp requiring a different rhythm than the other couples. But no one stared. No one whispered. They simply smiled and made room, adjusting their own steps to match the gentle pace of the lord and lady they loved. "Look around," Gabriel murmured in her ear as they swayed together. She did. Everywhere she looked, she saw acceptance, joy, community, love. "This is what you built," Gabriel said. "With your kindness, your healing, your refusal to believe the lies they told you about yourself." Later, much later, they walked home through streets lit by lanterns and stars. Eleanor's leg ached from the long day, but her heart was full to bursting. "Gabriel," she said, as they reached their door. "Yes, love, I want to tell you something I have never said to anyone." He turned to face her fully, giving her his complete attention. "I am grateful," she said simply, "for the limp, for the pain, for everything I went through." Gabriel's eyebrows rose in surprise. "Because," she continued, "if I had been born perfect, if I had been the beautiful, unmarked daughter my parents wanted, I would never have become who I am now. I would never have learned compassion. I would never have found my gift for healing. I would never have met you." She took his scarred face in her hands. "Our wounds made us who we are. They taught us to see beyond surfaces, to value what truly matters." Gabriel's eyes filled with tears. "My brave, wise, beautiful wife." "Your grateful, happy, completely blessed wife," she corrected. They kissed there in the doorway. Two people who had found each other across pain and fear and shame. Two people who had built something beautiful from the broken pieces of their past. The girl who had once been called cursed was now the woman they called blessed. And she knew with absolute certainty that her story was far from over. There were more people to heal, more lives to touch, more hope to spread. The broken girl had become a healer, but more than that, she had become exactly who she was always meant to be. Whole, loved, free, perfect in her imperfection, beautiful in her brokenness, blessed in every way that truly mattered. Her real life had finally begun. Petty. The morning sun streamed through the windows of Eleanor's study. Maps covered her desk. Letters from across the kingdom were stacked in neat piles. Plans for the new healing academy covered every available surface. Lady Catherine's school had been such a success that nobles from other counties were begging Eleanor to help them start similar programs. Young women travelled from distant lands to learn from the famous healer. The girl once called cursed had become known throughout the realm as the Lady of Hope. A soft knock interrupted her work. "Come in," she called. Gabriel entered, carrying a tea tray and wearing an expression of fond exasperation. "You promised you would take a break," he said, setting the tea beside her papers. "That was 3 hours ago." Eleanor looked up from the letter she was writing to a duchess in the northern counties. Was it really? Time moves so quickly when you are changing the world, Gabriel finished with a smile. "Yes, I have noticed." He perched on the edge of her desk, careful not to disturb her. Careful organization. "What crisis are you solving today?" "Lady Margaret wants to establish a healing school in her county, but the local physicians are fighting her. They claim women cannot learn true medicine." Gabriel snorted. "Have they met you?" Eleanor grinned. "That is exactly what I told her to tell them. I also sent her the testimonials from our first class of graduates. Their school now had over 40 graduates, young women who had gone back to their villages and towns as trained healers, who had opened their own practices, who had saved countless lives. And not one of them had been born into nobility. They came from farms and shops and servant quarters, girls who had been told they were nothing, who had learned they were everything. Speaking of graduates, Gabriel said, "Did you hear? Mary finished her training in the capital. She will be the royal physician's new assistant." Mary, little Mary, the baker's daughter whom Eleanor had saved from fever years ago, now a fully trained healer in her own right. "I am so proud of her," Eleanor said softly. She wrote that she tells everyone the Lady of Hope saved her twice, once from fever and once from believing she could never be more than a baker's daughter. Eleanor felt tears prick her eyes. She still cried easily when she heard about her girls succeeding, happy tears, proud tears. "There is something else," Gabriel said. His voice had changed, become more serious. "What is it?" He pulled a letter from his jacket, official looking, with a royal seal. Eleanor's eyes widened. "Is that—" "From the Queen herself," Gabriel confirmed. "She wants to meet you, to discuss, and I quote, establishing healing academies throughout the kingdom under the guidance of the renowned Lady Eleanor." For a moment, Eleanor could not breathe. The Queen wanted to meet her. The girl who had once hidden in her room, ashamed of her limp. "What do you think?" Gabriel asked gently. "Is Nadine thought of all the girls still trapped in families like her old one, still being told they were worthless, still believing the lies. I think," she said slowly, "that we should start packing for the capital." Gabriel's smile could have lit up the entire manor. "That is my brave wife." That evening, they walked together through their village, past the houses of people they had known for years, past the school where young women came to learn, past the healing center where Eleanor still saw patients twice a week. Children ran up to greet them, as they always did. Adults called out warm hellos. This place, these people, had become more than home. They had become family. "Are you ready to leave all this?" Gabriel asked as they paused by the village fountain, "even temporarily?" Eleanor looked around, at the life they had built, the community they had helped create, the peace they had found. "I am not leaving it," she said finally. "I am taking it with me. Everything we have learned here, every person we have helped, every life that has been changed, it all comes with us." She took Gabriel's hand. "We are going to take our little miracle and share it with the world." Gabriel brought her hand to his lips, kissed her fingers gently. "Our little miracle? A place where broken people can become healers, where cursed girls can become blessings, where love matters more than appearance, and kindness matters more than perfection. And you," Gabriel said softly, "are the heart of that miracle." Eleanor shook her head. "We are the heart of it. All of us, everyone who chose to see beyond the surface, everyone who chose to heal instead of harm." As they walked home, Eleanor thought about the girl she used to be, frightened, ashamed, convinced she was worthless. That girl was still part of her, would always be part of her, but now she was surrounded by so much more: confidence, purpose, love, joy. The broken places had become the strongest places. The scars had become proof of survival. The limp that once marked her as cursed now carried her toward a destiny she could never have imagined. Tomorrow, she would begin preparing for the journey to the capital, to meet the Queen, to discuss healing academies throughout the kingdom. But tonight she was simply Eleanor, beloved wife, trusted healer, cherished friend. The girl who had been called cursed, who had become the woman they called blessed. And her story, her beautiful, impossible, miraculous story, was still being written. One healed heart at a time, one changed life at a time, one small miracle at a time. The curse had been broken, the blessing had begun. And it would continue as long as there were broken people who needed to know they could become whole. As long as there were frightened girls who needed to know they could become strong. As long as there was love in the world to heal the wounded places, forever and always. The end.